What's going on, everybody? It's Dr. Highland here, and it is Wednesday. This is our first midday Q&A, and here to get started with any of your questions today. And only price of the live stream is to just like the video, share it with anybody else if you're feeling extra generous. And I am here for it, so I'm looking forward to seeing your comments and questions, and we will have a good question and answer session today. Hopefully I announced it early enough for everybody to kind of get a jump on it. And yeah, we're going to go from here. So I'm going to make sure that this is streaming from, yep, okay, we're doing okay. Let me know if you can hear me in the comments, please. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, there's a live chat, of course. I'll just be responding verbally there. And then on Facebook, if you're watching live there, I'll be sure to respond to you live, but also in the comments as well. And of course, after the stream is over is what I mean. So if you watch this later, type in replay, or put that in the comments and I'll reply to you afterwards. But yeah, so whatever questions you have for me today, I'll do my best to answer live, and we'll just make it a brief conversation about things, and I'm wide open to finding out what you would like to know about today. Obviously, we're talking about Parkinson's related topics. I couldn't get my virtual background to work for some reason today, so I'm just kind of a boring door behind me, but it is what it is. I didn't want to miss the live just because of my green screen not working. So yeah, so again, any questions, just please post them in the comments or the live stream chat. And they will pop up on my end, and I will answer them for you best I can. If I don't know the answer, I'll make sure I can point you to where you can. I've been teaching about this stuff for a long time, so I don't know everything, but I can tell you quite a bit. So yeah, let me go over to Facebook, make sure this is looking okay, just to make sure. Again, if you can't hear me, please say something. And yeah, sound's coming through fine on Facebook, so we're good. We're good. Okay. So Mr. Green says, thank you for your question, by the way. What is the best supplement? The best is a loaded question. I would say there's not any one supplement that's going to be a one-size-fits-all for Parkinson's disease. There are a lot of supplements to consider. And, again, it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all because a lot of the supplements that people will take with Parkinson's in particular, effectiveness will vary some. But just to give you a short list of a few to consider, and number one overarching theme looking for with supplements is, well, it's a couple themes, I guess. One of the main themes would be reduction of oxidative stress, and conversely, improving you want to take supplements that are supporting the healing of mitochondria and reduction of oxidative stress. And so a handful of those to consider would be something like CoQ10, glutathione. So creatine is another one that's good, but also that could help some potentially with energy. A lot of people that suffer from fatigue, a lot of times, or even just sleepiness, creatine can be effective in that sense. And Mr. Green says he's tried many. I'd be curious to find out which ones you have tried. feel like there's more I've talked about, and now I don't remember the other ones we talked about on the channel at the moment or the podcast. Um, NRF2 is another one. NRF2 is actually a transcription factor. Naturally, NRF2, all of these supplements are found in the body already, by the way, but NRF2 is what's called a transcription factor. So a transcription factor is basically a protein something like the protein that will essentially induce the body to turn certain genes on or off. And NRF2 is one that helps to upregulate or turn on um, a really large amount of genes that would help with oxidative stress or healing as the result of oxidative stress or free radicals. And so, um, if you reduce oxidative stress, you allow the mitochondria to regenerate, what's called mitophagy, and then autophagy is the ability of the cell to regenerate or to kind of recycle itself, essentially. And so, yeah. So again, NRF2, CoQ10, uh, and the ones we just mentioned earlier, glutathione, they can basically um, promote that reduction of oxidative stress by being able to give away hydrogens, or I guess to accept hydrogens, that sort of thing. And I would say that again, it's hit or miss because not everybody's the same, but CoQ10 probably has less of a positive like report than some of the other ones. I'd say glutathione and NRF2 probably might have a better shot of some noticeable difference, at least with maybe symptoms or fatigue or something. It's not going to be necessarily something that helps with every non-motor symptom or motor symptom, but it's worth trying because even if you don't notice tangible differences in symptoms, these supplements are actually helpful overall with just the aging process because we all are exposed to oxidative stress, whether it's from, it could be from UV light in the sun, it could be toxins in the foods we eat, it could be just overall physical or mental stress that's making the body stressed out. Hey, Shameen, thanks for watching live. I've seen your comments before. He asks, can you use cell patches for Parkinson's? How effective are they? Don't know if you've heard of stem cell patches. Yes, actually, I have heard those. Shamim, I think what you're referring to is the like patches like LifeWave. I think there's the X39. There's a few of them that they make. LifeWave. So the principle, and I'm just now learning about this, so it's a timely question. LifeWave and that principle is essentially it's a non-medication or non-medical, non-medicinal. Basically, there's no drug or anything going into your body, but it's a patch that you place in certain areas of the body, and it's meant to use light, like the light from your electric light or the sunlight, to stimulate your own body's stem cell production to increase and promote healing. So I'm just now learning about that, and it sounds so woo-woo that I've been hesitant to even talk about it because I want to learn more about it myself before I would talk about it or promote it. But short answer, Shamim, is yes, you can. And I don't know how effective they are from a personal standpoint or from research, but I do know anecdotally they tend to help with a lot of different conditions. Parkinson's specifically, though, I haven't heard as much about. I just know that with chronic pain, some other inflammatory conditions, it's been pretty effective anecdotally. And there's a lot of different testimonials from practitioners who have used it with their patients, and that spans everything or everybody from massage therapists to chiropractic to functional medicine doctors, naturopathic physicians, and so forth. So hi, Pam. Thanks for coming on, and I hope Mark is watching with you. That's okay if you missed the notification. You're here now. That's what counts. I mentioned this already. Oops. CoQ10 is no result. And yes, I am still on. And you're welcome, Shimi. I'm honestly just I want to be upfront about that. I need to do more research with the stem cell patches because there's just so much that I don't understand about that whole thing. It just seems so inconceivable that natural or UV light or whatever hitting this patch, somehow translates into your body being stimulated to produce more natural stem cells. I don't understand that or claim to understand that, but I'm open to learning about it because I'm hearing more and more about it, and I've actually had more than one patient use them. Although the one patient I know recently that does not have Parkinson's, so I couldn't tell you exactly specifically on that. But it's an intriguing area because if you could stimulate natural stem cell production, theoretically you could heal. It depends on what kind of stem cells, I guess. But I guess in theory, stem cells are all what they call pluripotent, which means they can turn into whatever cells they need to. But good. I'm glad Mark's here too. And I realize the timing is a little interesting because on this video, I mean, I'm trying to do these live on noon. And today I had to move the What's Next Wednesday. We're going to do that later. That's usually 4:30, but as you, Pam and Mark, know, we're doing the 4:30 class Central Time tonight for Parkinson's 101. So couldn't do both. So I'm going to do What's Next Wednesday earlier at 2:30 and 2:30 Central. And then we'll do the class later tonight. But yeah, that's these are great questions. I love it. Feel free to keep them coming if you have anything else that comes up. Happy to answer whatever I can. By the way, there's a link in the description I wanted to mention to you. It's a quiz it's obviously completely free to take. But if you have any question, or I guess have any, basically you want to see how well you feel like you know Parkinson's disease, or if you're kind of unsure or confused about how much knowledge you have or lack, it could be a nice starting point to kind of figure out, okay, where do I fall in this area? Do I really do pretty good? Looking up information on my own, or do I need help with that? Am I kind of confused still, or am I confident? Yeah, so Mr. Green said he's been 4 years without medications, only sports. I'm assuming you mean sports drinks, or you mean sports supplements. I'm not sure. Supplements, tried many supplements, can't feel a difference. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Ultimately, I did forget one supplement that's important to talk about. I don't know if you've tried B1 or high dose thiamine with magnesium. We did a whole video on that before, and I covered that on the podcast episode before, and also that was the main thing I was going to say. But B1, supposedly one of the effects that B1 can have with the brain is to help stimulate more dopamine production. So it's not a medication; it's a natural supplement. But that paired with magnesium can actually potentially help with natural dopamine production. I mean, I think that's still up for debate, but the bottom line is, I guess what I'm trying to get at with all this is that your dopaminergic production is affected with Parkinson's. So there's not a whole lot supplement-wise that's going to guarantee you get the amount you need, I suppose, is the best way to put it. Although I'm amazed that you've done 4 years without medication, I would encourage you to try to keep that going, because the longer you can do or manage without levodopa or carbidopa levodopa, the better, because the medications can help greatly, but the amount of medications you have to take increases over time. The side effects of the medications can be debilitating in some cases. Not debilitating, but they can be problematic. That's the best way to put it. Because ironically, some of the side effects of the meds can mimic Parkinson's symptoms, especially if they're prescribed at higher doses than you need. And things like dyskinesia happen because of the meds. Dyskinesia happens as a result of the medication not as the well. Basically, that's the main reason it happens is because of the medications. Another supplement that's now coming to mind is Mucuna pruriens. Mucuna pruriens is obviously it comes from the fava bean, or sorry, the velvet bean. And is it fava bean? I think it's velvet bean. Um, Mucuna pruriens is a natural source of levodopa, or basically dopamine. But there's a wide variety of, I guess the best word is a wide variety of reports as to how much is really necessary to take. There's no regulation as far as like I'm not advocating for like government regulation, but just saying like there's not really like a objective, I guess, baseline of how much Mucuna pruriens to take to match what you would get in medications if you needed it. But I think that's worth a shot too for supplementation because that's that's a direct source of natural dopamine. The only question is how much is actually getting absorbed or bioavailable versus how much you're ingesting, because there's the first pass effect of the liver. Whatever you ingest is going to be filtered through the liver before it gets into the bloodstream. So you may lose a lot of that dopamine before it even gets into your bloodstream if you're doing something like Mucuna. And with B1 and magnesium, though, it's high dose B1. So there's a protocol on that you could follow with Daphne Bryan's book, which is her book is based on the work of Dr. Constantini, who passed away during the pandemic. But his work leading up to that point was pretty cool. So Pamela says, be at 5:30 your time. You got it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a great class. We're going to be talking about cognitive changes in Parkinson's. Not the favorite topic, of course, but it's definitely important to understand that and be aware of it. She says that's awesome. And so, okay, so that's great. You're already doing B1 magnesium. Okay, tyrosine, yeah. That's actually one I need to do a coverage of. Actually, was it yeah, I think it was, yeah. There was also one about, there was one that was ATP hydroxylase. Is that the word? Was that the enzyme? Anyway, I have to look that one up again too. And then vitamin C, Mucuna, omega-3, CoQ10. Well, you certainly sound like you're taking an adequate amount of supplements and you're targeting the right areas, it sounds like. So I wouldn't stop what you're doing. I think that's a good approach to what you're doing. But here's what my suggestion would be, and I'm not sure what part of the world you're in, Mr. Green, if you're in the US or other parts of the country or the world, but if what my suggestion would be is if you are able to have a physician to work with, if you do end up needing to try medications of any kind, this is just my opinion, but I would advocate for it and request the physician to not prescribe levodopa first. I would actually request that they look into a medication to help your dopamine levels from dropping. Oh, very much. Vive la France. Very good. So yeah, I would advocate for not taking the dopamine in a medication form. I would maybe look into a medication that helps the levels from dropping, if that makes sense. So trying to keep the levels even. So an example would be something like an MAOB inhibitor. And there's other examples. MAOB inhibitor is a pretty mild drug overall. And what the mechanism is MAOB stands for monoamine oxidase B, and that enzyme tends to break down dopamine. And so by inhibiting MAOB, you can help the dopamine levels, the natural dopamine levels that you're already producing in the brain to stay a little bit more level. Um, you tend to see it backwards, though. In the US, often you'll have levodopa or dopamine agonist medications prescribed first, and then something like MAOB will be prescribed to essentially balance out the time. So you have these peaks and valleys between medication doses, and so it kind of helps to level those valleys a little bit. Um, I'm using my hands a lot, but you get what I'm saying. I hope. I hope the visual helps a little bit. I distracted myself with that comment. Anyway, if you take a medication like that, like an MAOB inhibitor, that's not providing dopamine, but it's preventing your dopamine that you're producing in the brain from dropping as quickly, so that you have more available, in other words, to use. Another example would be amantadine. Amantadine can help. The mechanism is a little bit more unclear with amantadine, but it can help that of kind of the levels from dropping. I actually have a patient that I worked with as a physiotherapist who he was on carbidopa levodopa and was having some poor side effects, and then he got taken off of it by his neurologist and was only taking amantadine. So, and he actually seemed to do fairly well with that, even though he'd had Parkinson's for several years, or diagnosis with Parkinson's. Shamim says you're in South Africa. Wonderful. Thank you for being here. And then Mr. Green says he gave you levodopa and you didn't take it. Yeah, I honestly don't disagree. If you can manage it without the levodopa, try as long as you can. That's the bottom line, in my opinion. Okay. It's wonderful having so many people on live. I really enjoyed talking with all of you. I should call you Monsieur Vert. You're Mr. Green. Yeah. Yeah, I understand trying so many supplements. It must be frustrating too when you're trying to uh, help the symptoms and then you're not noticing the results. Um, and I understand that frustration. I would just say that again, just emphasize that the supplements we've talked about here on the channel are beneficial regardless. So it's going to be, it could even help disease progression, even if it doesn't help symptoms directly. You know, oxidative stress is a big problem with a lot of chronic diseases, leading to a lot of problems with a lot of different chronic diseases. So if you can reduce oxidative stress, and if you can help the mitochondria of the cells to be more healthy, you're going to help a lot of problems throughout the body. It could be physical problems, mental health problems, conditions like Parkinson's and so forth, and even cognitive issues like Alzheimer's disease. It's a common saying in the U.S. anyway. Refer to Alzheimer's disease as the diabetes type 3 because it really is an issue of dopamine. Sorry, not dopamine. Of glucose. It's an issue of glucose metabolism in the brain. So if you alter the food intake, the types of foods and supplements and so forth, that can potentially help that as well. Those types of conditions. So, but yeah, I probably will be on for another few minutes here, and I do appreciate you all being here live, and I love the interaction and questions. And please do like this video if you haven't already. I would love, that really does help more people to see it as well. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so forgive my poor French. I didn't take French in school. I know a little bit, enough to be dangerous. Um, I took Spanish in school, actually. Many years of Spanish. I took 3 years in high school and 2 years, no, 3 years in high school and 1 full year of college level Spanish, and intermediate level. So and I've lost most of it because I don't practice, even though I'm in the United States and there's people that speak Spanish all over. But thank you, Pamela. I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate you being here and supporting me. But again, I wanted to put in a plug for that quiz. I think it's just kind of a nice way to test your own knowledge of Parkinson's, and it's not super detailed. It's not like a quiz of a lot of detail on education with Parkinson's. It's more of an overview of your kind of knowledge confidence at this point. But otherwise, just want to mention that one more time before we wrap up this afternoon. So thank you all again. I'm probably going to wrap up here unless there's any more comments or questions. And in addition to the Shamim did have a comment real quick. He said, I'm on Cinemat, which wish there was another option with no chemicals to help. Yeah. Yeah, I understand. It's unfortunate that there aren't more options. Cinemat's been around since about the late 1960s, and it does help. It definitely does manage a lot of the symptoms, helps with movement, but it's not the end. I think there's better things coming, I hope, as far as options for medication and so forth. I have actually just had Dr. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Jonathan Sackner-Bernstein. He just reached, or I guess his administrative assistant reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in having him on the podcast. He's doing some really new and upcoming research on treating Parkinson's disease, and his approach is unique. And he's a physician here in the United States, but I really do think he's thinking outside the box because he talks about a principle called dopamine toxicity, which I wasn't familiar with. I'm really interested to find out more about that in the interview, and also to share the research he's doing because they've got trials going on right now with a new treatment approach. It is a medication, but it's different than levodopa or carbidopa-levodopa. It's a different approach to treating it than just providing dopamine. You're very welcome, sir. Yeah, well, thank you all again. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. Have a good afternoon. Be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you hopefully at the What's Next Wednesday little live that we're going to do later. That's going to be at 2:30 p.m. That's Central Time USA. So 2 hours from now, if you can make it. Thanks, and I'll talk to you then.